Marc Gibson. Marc used to be the guy at State Farm who made sure you saw all the commercials and made sure you went out and said, I got to have me some State Farm.
Yeah.
He's been enjoying his life.
Call Jake.
As an assistant professor of marketing at Illinois State University. Full disclosure, he's an old pal. He also understands this business completely. I tried to get him a job running a couple of radio stations I worked at because I figured it'd take him longer to fire me. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning, Steve, and all the WLS crew.
Nice to talk to you.
Nice to hear you, too.
I got 30 seconds for you if you want to tell me your favorite WLS memory.
Oh, my gosh. I'll tell you what, I was a news guy, and I loved Lyle Dean.
No,
He's the best.
The best. We're going to talk to Lyle, right?
We are going to. I have to set that up. We are going to talk to Lyle within the next few weeks.
Yeah, Lyle's great. Love Lyle. All right, so here's the deal. You know from advertising on the highest level and the biggest stage, what are they paying for Super Bowl ads this year?
Believe it or not, a new record. Last year it was $6.5 million. This year it's gone up to $7 million. They are 97% sold out, and they will be sold out before the kickoff for sure.
Wait, you told me. So you're telling me there's still a chance for us to slide in with a Steve Cochran Show commercial?
You could have a Cochran Show commercial, and you make it a 10, a 15, or a 30, however much you want to go.
30 is going to cost me $7 million?
$7 million. But when you think about the price of that and you think about the delivery, there's 120 million television households in the U.S., and 40 to 50% of those households are going to be tuned in. So you're looking at somewhere between 48 and 60 million households that are going to be tuned in to watch the game. And the audience share rating, so the people who have televisions that are watching, is upwards of 75, 80%. So it's the biggest stage in all of marketing.
So the deal is a lot of these are sneaked. They're released, sometimes to run to mass audiences, sometimes just to run online, sometimes just a preview. Is it still worth the money?
Today. Yeah, I think it depends, and you have to take a look at it from what is the advertiser really attempting to do? Are they trying to drive brand awareness and trying to reinforce what their brand is already known for? Are they trying to introduce a new product? You've seen in the past, GoDaddy was one of those products that actually launched with the Super Bowl and used the race car driver Danica Patrick to do that back in the day. It really depends upon what your objective is, but what I would say is that you better be sure that you're going to spend the dollars wisely and that you don't want to end up on the bottom of the list the next day. So you've got to have an ad that's really relevant, resonant, and relatable to the audience. And if you don't, you might be second-guessing your decision.
I remember a few years ago, Doritos had the contest where they were having, viewers or listeners come up with the commercial. That made it really good because they were showing a couple of the different commercials throughout the Super Bowl, and then the winner, I think, was at the end. And that just, having a competition like that, I think really popped the product.
It's a whole thread that keeps you locked into the product.
It's a
smart.
whole new facet of it, don't you think, Mark?
Oh, absolutely, and I think that trying to get the audience engaged has been something that sponsors have been trying to do. Doritos was really cutting edge when they did that back in the day, and I think today now the fact that they are kind of releasing these commercials online and they're teasing them. My friends over at State Farm, they just teased this week a commercial with Arnold Schwarzenegger as Agent State Farm.
Right.
Oh, yeah.
And it is all based upon the fact that he's trying to say the word neighbor, but he's actually saying neighbor in his accent. Neighbor. And it's really well done. And, of course, they're going to unveil the spot then during the game. But so you're seeing lots of brands that are out there in front of this to try to drive some excitement. But as I've kind of reviewed some of the spots, there's several things that are really coming up. I mean, you're seeing, I'm going to call this the year of the S. You're seeing a lot of stars that are being pulled off the shelf. A lot of ads are really simple, but they bring home a smile to your face. There are a few that are kind of serious and sentimental. I heard you talking earlier about the Budweiser Clydesdales.
Yep. Yeah.
They're going to make a reappearance this year. And then I think we can't ignore in the NFL this year with both sponsors and with the whole atmosphere of the game, the Swift effect. It's driving different sponsors than ever before. You've got makeup sponsors on this year. You would not have seen that in years past, but their demographic is changing, and Taylor Swift has been a big part of that.
Is she going to make an appearance in any of these?
I have not seen that she's going to be making an appearance, but it would not surprise me if she doesn't make an appearance in a spot, as well as I'm sure she will be shown on camera several times. There's some conspiracy theories out there that think she's going to drop in some sort of a fashion and perform at the halftime show. I don't know that would happen, but if I'm the NFL, I surely wouldn't dispute the narrative, because that's only going to drive more viewership.
Yeah, and I don't want to spoil things for anybody, but those things don't just happen. They have to be rehearsed, and that's way too many people to keep a secret in the world we live in now. I saw one for Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson for a Bic lighter, which features Willie and Snoop lighting things up.
Wow.
Very funny. Excuse me.
Now you caught my cough.
I'm
Good
sorry.
for you.
Yeah, no, I just took a sip of water and...
Wrong way water.
Right.
Yeah, wrong way water.
I hate when that happens.
Tina Fey is prominently featured, one of the most popular people. Everybody loves Tina Fey. There's one where Jennifer Aniston doesn't know who Ross is.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's why I'm glad that Mark said that there's the star power back, because I've noticed in years past, a lot of B and C listers. I like to see the A-listers.
Yeah, totally agree.
Well, Mr. T is back this year with Skechers, and he kind of talks about the fact that there's no T in Skechers unless he's got his feet in those shoes. So, again, Arnold Schwarzenegger, you got Mr. T, Dan Marino in an M&M's commercial, Martin Scorsese. So you've got some people that aren't traditionally in commercials that are back in there again and trying to make their brands relevant.
And the E-Trade babies are back.
I have not seen that.
Yeah, I'm looking
I'm
looking at a
babies.
tease right now.
Yeah.
Aubrey Plaza, weird little Aubrey Plaza is in this.
Oh, from White Lotus.
Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff here which I think could reignite some people about these commercials. Frankly, over the past few years, a lot have been boring.
Yeah, it's interesting. Last year, if you take a look at the top commercials, both of them featured dogs. One of them was the Amazon commercial, and the other one was the farmer's dog pet food. Those were two of the top three commercials from last year. And so this year, one thing I did notice in reviewing a couple of dozen of the commercials is that the messages are really, really simple. And a lot of them are designed just to kind of bring a smile to your face. Kawasaki has a great ad for an all-terrain vehicle that they're using. It's called, I believe it's called the Ridge. And when gentlemen get in this ATV and they turn the key on, they magically grow a mullet. And it's very well done, and it's a very simple ad.
That's great.
Very straightforward. And as they pass a turtle, and as they pass a dog, and as they pass a bear, they all grow mullets at the same time. So kind of a fun way to look at it. There's another ad for again, Hellman's mayonnaise. With Kate McKinnon and Pete Davidson, and a cat that doesn't meow, it says mayo. And this cat obtains celebrity status because of its ability not to meow but to say mayo. So some really simple executions, although they're very costly to produce. When you're throwing in all the borrowed equity of celebrities, that makes it a real big cost, but they're simple messages and really trying to drive home brand salience for these companies.
All right, so we're going to need you back to review these after the game on Sunday. I'll let you and Tom work out when and all that. But in the meantime, take people behind the scenes for just a second. You know, traditionally Budweiser would get one of the early, if not the first slots. How do people pay their way up if everybody's paying the same? Because the notion would be you want to be on in the first quarter, or you want to be on maybe just before halftime. You want to be on when people are paying attention.
Yeah, and there's a real art and a science to it, and your media buying agency plays a large part in how that works. You know, you try to get into the pods that you're looking at, and those first quarter pods are really important, and you really like to have that A position, or even the position coming out when you're coming out of that pod back into the game. So. There's a little bit of an art and science. A lot of it is dictated by how much you're willing to spend and how they've flighted the advertising for that. So you can pay a premium for specific flighting within a pod if you choose to do. We, for many years, didn't run an ad in the Super Bowl because we were always, do we have the right creative? Do we have the right message at State Farm? So we used to go pre-kick, right up before the kickoff, and then we would have a spot that came right post after the game. So those were always really good spots for us, and they are significantly less expensive than actually running in the game, believe it or not.
So let's say it's $7 million now in game. What would those slots go for? Any idea?
Oh, at least 30 to 40% of the cost of a Super Bowl ad, because you've still got a huge lead-in audience.
Yeah.
Pre-kick is much more expensive than post-kick. But remember, the network that's going to be hosting the Super Bowl, so CBS this year, they're going to debut some brand new programming right afterwards. So they've got a huge lead-in audience for that. So some people hang on. Everybody else is hopefully getting home safely after the game or wherever they're watching the game. But so they really leverage and pivot this to promote their own programming as well. So there's such a big incentive for the network that's hosting this to try to leverage it in every aspect that they can. And this really helps set their rate cards for advertising, not just for football, but for the entire broadcast schedule that they have.
Yeah, and boy, does CBS need the help. Mm-hmm. Marc, this is the type of thing that could pay for a chunk of their year. Marc Gibson is everybody's favorite professor at Illinois State. Professor of marketing, assistant professor of marketing. All right, you talk to Tom. We'll figure out when you're going to come back and do a review of what you saw.
I would love to. Thanks so much. I really appreciate talking to you all.
Great talking to you. Smart guy, fun guy.
I'm literally the one at the Super Bowl party who says, shh, commercials.
First, you ruined the wedding last weekend in Florida. Now this.
No, love my commercials.
Oh, boy.